Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we're going to be talking about if the Clippers could potentially be better than the Phoenix Suns going into this upcoming season. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to get more notice on NBA content, and we'll get right into it. The biggest thing to pay attention to this offseason has been the James Harden sweepstakes. Now, the reason why it's problematic is because the Clippers don't really have anything to offer in exchange for him. They have Norman Powell and a couple other depth pieces, but is Norman Powell really the best player that you want to push in a trade? If you're Philadelphia and Daryl Morey, I don't really think so. Now, they did add Patrick Beverley. They're not planning on giving up on Tyrese Maxey and trading him away. And judging by his offseason workout, it looks like the guy's getting a lot better at the game of basketball. The issue with James Harden is he wanted a long-term deal, and he was not going to get one the way that he wanted to get it. So again, he's going to try and force his way out. Now, they added Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley publicly said that he told James that he wants him to stay. He wants him to stay, stick it out one more year. If I'm Joel Embiid, I'm extremely concerned because if we trade away James Harden for basically nothing and you're Daryl Morey, that basically tells you that Joel Embiid has no reason to stay. He's in his prime right now, and honestly, there's only but so much better that he can get as a player. And the point of playing the game of basketball in the NBA is to win. So if you're trading away an all-NBA caliber talent and getting almost corn chips in return, nobody's going to want to stay there, especially if you're an all-NBA player and a consensus top 10 player in the league yourself in Joel Embiid. But in theory, if the trade does go through and they find a way to add an extra team to it and get the pieces flowing, and James Harden does decide he doesn't want to run it back with the 76ers, what's likely to happen is you'll have Russell Westbrook, who re-signed on the vet minimum, 2 years, $7.8 million, which is a huge drop-off. Honestly, probably the biggest drop-off in NBA history as far as contracts are considered. Possibly James Harden. They're planning on not giving up PG, which is very interesting. I'm not really sure how they're going to finagle that. But under that assumption, you'll still have Kawhi, you'll still have PG, you'll still have Russell Westbrook, you'll still have Norman Powell, and adding James Harden to the mix, that's a big four. And Norman Powell is your odd man out. And obviously you still have a couple depth pieces still there, though they're not particularly terrific. If your big four consists of Russell Westbrook playing the way he played at the end of last season, Kawhi Leonard healthy at his best, Paul George healthy at his best, and James Harden, even if he plays as the great distributor of the basketball that he was last season and shooting the way he did last season, you're a very dangerous team and you have to consider them as a title contender. Now on the side of the Phoenix Suns, they added Bradley Beal, they added Eric Gordon from the Clippers, and they got a few more depth pieces in free agency. So looking at the pieces that they got, I would honestly give them a B+ in free agency. Now, they do have, obviously, Bradley Beal added to the mix, obviously Eric Gordon, but they still have Booker returning. They still have KD, obviously, with a full offseason of preparation to get feeling comfortable in the system that they run and just playing with the team. Because once they traded for him, it was really a very short set of games that he had to get accustomed to what was going on. Then they went into the postseason, and KD he went from shooting 56% in the regular season to shooting 47% in the postseason. So KD wasn't hitting the same way that he was in the regular season, essentially. So he wasn't as reliable, and that's honestly part of the reason why they got bounced, because they couldn't get a big performance out of him. Now, do I think that's going to happen this season? No. Kevin Durant, despite how many may feel about him, is a terrific NBA player. He is an all NBA caliber player, and he's really arguably top 5 in the league right now. Add DeAndre Ayton to the mix. Obviously, they don't have CP, but the issue with that team, and the reason why I feel like the Suns might be the lesser of the teams, is you have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. All three of them are okay passers. All three of them are okay defenders. Sometimes they're liabilities, but they're all terrific scorers. That's the big positive. If you're the Suns and you're the Suns management, you love the way your scoring load looks. You're always going to be able to rely on somebody to put points on the board. Now, the issue is there's only one basketball, and all three of these players are variations of each other. Now, Devin Booker, obviously in the playoffs, was extremely efficient. He was scoring the rock like crazy, playing out of his mind, honestly. And we haven't seen that from him before on a consistent basis to that degree. And you could say that by removing Chris Paul and the fact that he's so injury prone and replacing him with Bradley Beal, who's more of a scorer, You could say that they did get better, and that is arguably true. Fit is much more difficult, and we've seen with many of the recent Kevin Durant teams, they're not capable of winning when he's necessarily the head of the snake. Devin Booker hasn't made the playoffs without Chris Paul. He was not a playoff caliber player until Chris Paul got there, and that first year, they made the playoffs. Now, is Chris Paul the sole reason? No, of course not. But the common denominator is Chris Paul making the teams that he goes to better. Obviously, this season is probably going to be very difficult if you are Devin Booker to have the help of DeAndre Ayton, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal and not make the playoffs. So they're going to make the playoffs. But it's about what they do once they get there and how the fit has been worked out throughout the season and throughout the offseason. And given enough time, I believe that they could get the job done because they're not selfish players. Kevin Durant's shown that he can play second fiddle and take a step back, as he did when he joined the Warriors to get his 2 championships that he has to his name. Devin Booker, it's his team. Bradley Beal came, and in his press conference, he said, it's his team. So understanding that, we're not really concerned about what happens as far as Devin Booker's shot. Now, Bradley Beal, is he going to be the second option or is he going to be the third option? Maybe him and Kevin Durant are going to switch shots, but it seems like the only thing we know for certain is that when it comes down to the very end of the game and the game's on the line, the person shooting the rock is going to be Devin Booker. And you could say it should be Kevin Durant, and you're arguably right. But the fact of the matter is, Kevin Durant is okay with taking that step back. So we have to accept the fact that knowing that it's Devin Booker's team and he's been here since he got drafted, it's his shot. And if he plays like he did in the last postseason, he earned it. And that's all we can say about it. But if these two teams match up, I love the defensive capabilities that the Clippers have that the Phoenix Suns just do not seem to have anymore. Now, that edge was anchored by Chris Paul and his knowledge of the game. Kevin Durant's never been known as a savant on the defensive side of the ball. Now, is he a good defender? Most certainly. Sometimes he can get lackadaisical on that end of the floor, but he's also a great enough offensive talent to make up for that. Bradley Beal's been viewed as a liability at times. Obviously, he played in Washington, and they weren't really known for winning anything, so the games were effectively meaningless in a sense. And Devin Booker has improved on that side of the ball, but he's not an all-NBA caliber defender. DeAndre Ayton has been solid. Even when his offensive game isn't falling, he's still making sure that he's effective on the glass and more so when it comes to protecting the rim, and he's been effective at it. But if you're looking at the Clippers, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are arguably 2 of the best wing defenders in the league and have been for some time when they're healthy. So the asterisk for the Clippers is going to be, can they stay healthy and can they play together enough time to have the chemistry needed to get the job done in the postseason? And if you're the Phoenix Suns, it's going to come down to, are we all going to be the same variation of the same player, or who's going to become the floor general, who's going to control the pick and roll, and how are we going to decide and divvy up who gets the shots? If both teams can figure out those things, it's really going to be a neck and neck battle, but I give the edge to the Clippers because of their defensive abilities that they just naturally have and don't need to play into. But if they don't, whichever team doesn't get the job done is going to be the one that either got hurt or the one that couldn't get their roles defined in time for the matchup that they play in the playoffs. With that being said, good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe on this video for more NBA content, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.